Hello, I am Rob.
And I'm Rob.
And welcome to Impossible Mission here on the Geek Show. Now, usually I'd have this big winding intro where I have all this explanation and this is this and that's that. Not really this week, because the title kinda says everything. The Joy of Short Games.
Yep.
The reason why I've titled this The Joy of is because you don't really get many short games these days. They're a much rarer occurrence.
You do get some, but everyone seems to be invested in this, let's make the game last as long as possible.
It's the rise of live service games.
Well, not just live service games, but even, in the indie development circle, you've got games where you've got developers who are trying to make a game that's like 15, 20 hours plus. Just make the game how you want to make it. If you want to make it a 20-hour plus game, fine.
If there's a reason for it to be 20 plus hours, yeah.
Yeah, if there's a reason for it. If that's your vision, if this is how you've basically made this world, made this game, everything like that, and it actually comes out as 20 hours plus, great. Because the game will play how the developers want it to play. But in most cases, you're not going to have that.
In the case of the big studios, I can kind of understand it, because as they make great pains to go on and on and on and on and on and on about,
Oh, God, yeah.
games cost more to make than they ever have.
Yeah.
So, because they cost more to make than they ever have, you have to get people to spend as much time, spend as much money, just spend, whatever it is, whether it's time, money, whatever, to validate the costs. Which is why, I guess, open worlds are a thing. I guess live services are a thing.
But you look at some of the most memorable games of the last 5 years. And by memorable, I don't mean biggest selling. I mean the ones that really stick in the brain. You look at some of those, and they are generally the shorter, more curated experiences. Things like Journey.
Well, that was last generation, but the point still stands.
I said last 5 years, but,
I don't know when that
it can go longer. It can go longer. Yeah. I think it was 2012 Journey. Journey is a game where people who played it when it came out were blown away by it.
It was only, 3 hours long?
I think it's 3-4 hours long, yeah.
Yeah.
But people were totally, ridiculously blown away by it. It dominated everything that year, didn't it?
Yeah. We talk about the joy of good game, not good games. Although there is a joy to play a good game. That is very much a definite truism there. Yeah. The joy of short games, and short games in particular, I think they've really changed. Let's go back to, I think it was PlayStation 3. You'd get loads of games like Enslaved, Journey to the West, which was definitely under 12 hours. It's very much to the point.
Yeah, it was actually very focused.
You get loads of games like that at PlayStation 3, maybe early PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, maybe.
You had a lot more games like that on the PlayStation 2 and the PlayStation 1.
In the past, let's say 5 years, short games have tended to skew very much towards we have a story to tell.
Yeah.
Which is very much in your, what's it called? I always call it Life is Strange. Oh, no, I got it right this time. I got it right. Yes.
Well, not just Life is Strange. Walking simulators, stuff like Dear Esther and Gone Home, like Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, that sort of thing.
Firewatch, stuff like that, yeah. Yeah. Which is, I'm not going to say all those games are bad.
Yeah.
However, I don't think they're great games because... Let's scrub through this point. A great animated movie or a great animated series is something that could only be animated. It could only be achieved through animation, I should say.
Not necessarily, but I do get your point.
It's a perspective. But to scrub back to those games,
yeah.
I don't think they're great games because they could be told in any number of formats.
Yeah.
So don't chastise me just yet. The short ones, which are like gameplay based, they're few and far between.
Yeah.
It bothers me really, because I'm going to mash together a few points here.
Yeah.
Gaming has grew up with me. As my generation has got older, games have matured. But for the point of illustration, mid-30s, 30s. Gaming has grew up with that generation. And as that generation has got older, time has got less and less.
Yeah.
So when your time gets less and less, you still like games, but you're not able to play them as much as you used to. So you want these in and out games, these short, quick, good games, these gameplay heavy, whatever but
experiences,
whatever you want to call them. However, the games industry is very much going towards these massive games.
Yeah.
So massive games that require like 100-hour gameplay time, and it's not the sort of thing which has a lot of longevity in it. I know they get their money back and they recoup their money from these big game budgets, but at the same time, when you have, I don't know, 5 or 6 of these 100+ hour games a year and people who don't have the time to play them, I don't know. You see what I'm trying to loop my way around to saying, but I can't quite thread together.
I do get what you're saying, but it kind of comes back to the point I made earlier. The games that stick in the mind over the last 5 to 10 years, the ones that people really do remember, are the short, impactful games, the ones that had that emotional punch.
Not necessarily just emotional.
I use Journey as one example, but there are plenty of others. To the Moon, for example.
No, that was a PC game, but I'll allow it.
It's a short game.
Yeah.
When you're talking about short games, you're talking about all consoles. But To the Moon, Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons.
That whole studio has been doing great stuff, because that, what is it, Way Out? That was interesting and short too.
Braid, where you play the game thinking that you're the hero, and it turns out that you're not.
They're all small budget games, but I also think there's bigger budget games.
I was about to mention one. Yeah, I was about to mention one, and this one came as a surprise, but I kind of adore this game. FarCry 3 Blood Dragon.
Well, that was kind of DLC though, wasn't it?
It was kind of DLC, but also kind of a game in its own right.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that that's another topic altogether, but that's a game, Blood Dragon, where they did the core game, and they said, right, DLC, we could go on with the story, but let's just go nuts with this DLC.
It's going to have giant lizards and neon and all sorts of other stuff, and like, this is amazing.
And Michael Biehn is there, so, But what we're going to say is, I have a real soft spot for Arcane Studios.
Yes.
If you don't know Arcane, they're behind the 2 Dishonored games. I think they did the spin-off, the mini sort of half-size game, and Prey, and they're coming up with Deathloop.
Yeah.
And what I really like about Arcane is the production value of their games is huge. It's very distinctive. You look at a still and you think, there you go, there's an Arcane game, because their stuff looks like nobody else's.
Yeah.
The systems they've got in their game are very, very vast and diverse.
Yeah.
However, a single playthrough, about 12 hours.
Yeah.
But what really gets the longevity of those games is you have all sorts of powers, so you can go through multiple playthroughs. You can have a good guy playthrough, a bad guy playthrough, which drastically changes the way that the game plays. The story is usually very, very good, and I'm including Prey in this. Prey does not get the attention it deserves. It is way better than the press laid it out to be. But my point is, this is a studio who does games definitely under 15 hours, under 12 hours, whatever. But they've packed it so much so that you're getting at least 4 playthroughs of each time they release a new game.
Yeah.
And that is underrated, let me say that.
Another game which you actually introduced me to, The Outer Wilds. Not The Outer Worlds, The Outer Wilds.
Yeah, The Outer Worlds is a bit longer, but still it's shorter than others of that type.
But The Outer Wilds in specific, because The Outer Wilds is one of those games where you play it and it feels longer than it actually is. It's a weird sci-fi mystery, which is set in a living, breathing solar system that's small and very big. It's a bit like the TARDIS of games, and it feels longer than it actually is when you're playing it.
You know what I think achieved that? They achieved that? I mean, isn't that the game where you basically die every so often and then you come back to life and you learn what you had in your previous life?
Yeah.
And you've got like a time limit of each life, so to speak. They've made it so you can't possibly explore all of it. Yeah.
The interesting thing is that another game that kind of felt more dramatic and scarier than it actually was, in the same way that The Outer Wilds felt longer and bigger than it actually was, Limbo felt more dramatic and scarier than it actually was.
Yeah, I mean, those, what is it, Play Dead Studios?
Yeah.
They get a lot in a few hours.
Yeah.
Theoretically, a few hours. In my case, it's having my phone open with a playthrough so I know what I'm doing, and it probably takes about 4 times longer than it should because of that.
Okay. There's a game that I want to bring up because I do think that you're a fan of it.
Okay.
They did have, what was that game? The diving game that came out recently?
What, Abzu?
No, it was like Abzu. Abzu is the game I want to mention, but the other game, it was something blue. But Abzu is the game I'm specifically thinking about in terms of short games.
Yeah, I mean, I want to sort of retool this a little bit. Because honestly, I think there's some great short games out there, more than we could possibly conjure up, and I think a lot of them are actually gameplay based. They're not all narrative experiences where you've got to go through, not all walking narrative experiences.
Yeah.
But you can't possibly think of all these things. Although, do comment if you can think of any great short campaign-based games of the past decade, the next generation, I should say. But my point is, what I've wrote around to saying is there any big games that would have been better small? And honestly, I think there's tons.
Yeah, there are a lot that would have been better small. You know when you play a game and you think, I would have loved this game to finish now?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Marvel Spider-Man was a bit too long.
Yeah.
Horizon Zero Dawn was way too long. I understand why they did it, because it goes back to that point that I was talking about at the beginning of the episode, where it's a very, very expensive game because they did make a new engine for it. So they kind of have to make it longer and have DLC campaigns to validate the cost to make that thing.
Beyond Blue, that was the game.
The story just meanders in Horizon so much.
I'll be honest, as much as I love The Witcher 3, there were bits of it where, not the whole game itself, but there was certain arcs to it that I felt could have been shorter or could have been removed entirely.
I'll be honest, the best part of The Witcher 3 is the Blood and Wine DLC.
Yeah.
And that's pretty short.
I think that's the case with a lot of games these days, because when you play a long game, a third-person action-adventure type game, it's not one consecutive story. It's an underlying story, but it's got different story arcs. It's got different arcs within that, and some of them are longer than others, and I think a lot of those can be compressed, but I think the game itself, you can't really compress it to become a short game.
It doesn't feel quite as long in the second playthrough, I've got to admit, but it does take an awful long time of, oh, here's Siri. Yeah. Oh, no, she's not here. We'll go there. Oh, here's Siri. Oh, she's not here. Let's go there. Oh, here's Siri. Oh, better go there. She's not here. Oh, here's Siri. It seems to go on and on and on and on and on. And admittedly, the stories that you get around the sides are excellent, but at the same time, get to the point.
You do know that all the iPhone owners out there are hating you right now.
Just to equalise everything. Hey, Google. Oh, my phone went off. No. It backfired. But, everything is equal in the universe now. You understand what I mean, though? There is a lot of games like that, which I think it goes back to that point of they need to string it out because of the expense, even though the story probably would have been better short. I mean, Metal Gear Phantom Pain is about 30 hours too long.
Ground Zeroes is too short, and Phantom Pain is too long. What they could have done was met somewhere in the middle, merge them both into one game, make Ground Zeroes a campaign of Phantom Pain, and just done one game.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't need to be as long as it is, and the whole base building stuff, it just dragged itself out.
The Mad Max game, again, is a bit too long. It drags itself out as well.
Oh, yeah, in PlayStation 3, that would have been a phenomenal 15-hour game.
Yeah.
But again, it's that whole thing. I know you love crafting.
Yeah.
Collecting things, building things, developing your weapons, your whatever.
The thing is, there is a limit to that. One of the reasons I like crafting is because there is a definite limit. Once you reach the end of all the recipes, you're like, okay, time to move on. I've got to play a new game now.
Yeah, crafting has been the bane of this past generation. It's made everything way longer and more padded out than it needs to be.
One of the reasons why crafting has been the bane is because a lot of the games that have crafting in it aren't designed to have crafting in it. The crafting mechanic is basically, games have a crafting mechanic in them these days, so we must have a crafting mechanic in it. Does your game need a crafting mechanic? No. Then why does it have a crafting mechanic? We don't know. Other games have a crafting mechanic. That's why we have a crafting mechanic.
Yeah, I mean, to go back to Arcane, I think they really are underrated. I can't stress how much I'm a fan, because they have this upgrade tree.
Yeah.
Which prompts you to play it over and over. And because it's stealth, you can approach situations from different ways, so you can get a lot of playtime out of these things.
Yeah. See, this is the thing. One of the reasons why the crafting mechanic in a lot of games annoys me is because, as I said, it's slapdash and tacked on. But you said the upgrade thing is literally all you need. Just an upgrade thing.
An upgrade tree.
Yeah, you don't need a crafting mechanic or anything like that. Just have a simple upgrade tree. That's it.
I mean, loop around. I think FarCry is also way too long.
Oh, FarCry is far too long.
And they get a great deal of that length from padding things out with upgrades and hunting and stuff like that.
But then again, I think FarCry, I will give FarCry a pass because of Far Cry 4 and 5 and the fact that if you just leave the game alone...
Yeah.
Far Cry 4, if you just left it alone for like 10 minutes... The guy comes back and you basically finish the game.
Yeah, he says, just wait here 15 minutes and I'll be right back.
Yeah. And if you do that, just leave the game 15 minutes, you basically complete the game. And I think that is like one of the biggest middle fingers to...
But that's a random occurrence, really, isn't it?
Well, no, because they did the same thing in Far Cry 5 as well.
I didn't know that, but...
There are certain things that can happen as you're leaving the church, and if one thing happens, then the game unfolds and you have to play the game. But if the other thing happens, then you don't have to play the rest of the game. You've basically beaten the game.
Yeah, honestly, looking forward, there's been a lot of talk about the new Spider-Man being short, and that's causing people to be worried. But frankly, I'm super excited to play a short Spider-Man game.
The thing is, how short is short? For me, a short game is anything under like 12 hours or so.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be.
Anything under 12 hours, I would classify as a short game.
Yeah, but with the next generation, what I was getting around to saying with the Spider-Man thing is I think there's reasons to be hopeful that games are kind of balancing out with the level of time that they need, honestly. I know there's live services, I know there's epically epic games, but at the same time, it feels like the gaming world, as far as big games, little games, and cardboard boxes, is about as healthy as it's looking, at least, in a very, very long time.
I'm not too sure. I'm still skeptical about the whole situation with AAA games because Portal 1 and 2 were basically short games, and they were massive games, and nobody really took the lessons of Portal 1 and 2 to heart and started looking at condensing their games into really pure, curated experiences.
I guess Naughty Dog did, but Naughty Dog lost it with The Last of Us 2, which is 25 hours long, and a game like that has no business being 25 hours long.
Yeah, but I mean, look at a game that came out recently that really swept everyone, Little Nightmares.
Well, not that recently, but yeah, it did.
Little Nightmares really caught everyone's attention, didn't it? But people are still making the same games as usual because... At the end of the day, they have this formula, they have this checklist of how to make video games, and they're sticking to it religiously. And I think it's going to take something more shocking than the success of a short game, dominating everything in a particular year, to shake them out of that mindset. And they really do need to be shaken out of that mindset.
Because not everybody's got 100 hours to give. This is why people have massive backlogs of games that they never ever finish.
Yeah.
Because they're all too bloody big. Sometimes you just want to play a game, get in, get out.
Here's the thing, and again, I really hope the sequel lives up to the original and is a short game in its own right as well. Hellblade.
I get the feeling that they're going big in that.
Yeah, we still don't know a lot about the game itself.
Oh, we know next to nothing, except the cool trailer.
Yeah, but I hope that they've taken the lessons of the first game and kept it as a short, curated experience. That's the essence of Hellblade. It is a short, curated experience, and it is highly memorable, it's highly emotionally impactful, and when you play the game, you experience it in a way that you don't experience other games. But it's a short game.
Yeah. I also think lessons can be learned from Arcane, and lessons can be learned from Nier Automata.
Yes.
Because Nier Automata is essentially, a 10-hour game, something like that?
Yep.
but it kept you around because it had like further playthroughs.
Yeah.
You didn't have to. You just say, all right, I've enjoyed that, I've had enough, done.
There are a wealth of short games that are just so memorable and that you just enjoy playing because you enjoy playing them.
Devil May Cry goes by that arcade model as well.
Yeah.
Short to the point, multiple playthroughs.
Exactly.
Just to round up this episode and sort of hammer in connections to a number of episodes that we've done. We've done an episode recently, a while back anyway, about gaming fatigue and how to cure it.
Yeah.
I think a reason that gaming fatigue happens is that so many games are so long.
And you don't finish them.
And you just get worn out by them. I've been playing games since, let's see, about 6. And I've never been tired out by a game which is straight at it, done, gun it to the finish line, and there you go.
I'm going through a bout of gaming fatigue right now. You know this. There are plenty of reasons why, which I'm not going to go into. But I've been playing a lot of mobile games, right? It's not that I've given up playing games. I've been playing a lot of no-brainer, no-thinking mobile games because that's literally all my brain can handle. I don't want to play a big, epic narrative or anything like that. I don't want to get involved in anything like that right now because I've tried it and it's just too much effort. And I don't have the attention span for it at the moment. It's not to say that I won't in the future, but right now, short games are the way forward for me. Short, simple games that I can just dive into, dive out of. And then from there, I'll probably go on to short narrative games, and then from there, I'll go back onto the big games. But the big games, they need to tone it down.
Yeah, I mean, 100 hours seems like it's normal. It's not. It's a long amount of time. That's what, like 24, 48, about 4 or 5 days. Point is, here's like I'm going to beat Kyle in South Park and have the I've learned something today moment. Honestly, I believe if you're making all the games 100-hour epics, you're basically freezing out loads of people who don't have the time. You're freezing out parents. You're freezing out people who come home after a really exhausting work life and just want something quick, easy, and that they're going to finish.
Yeah.
And I think short games really need to return.
Well, look at it this way. If you do a short game and it's successful, it will sell a lot. You've spent less money making the game.
Yeah.
You don't need as big a development team to make the game, probably.
That's fair.
So you're saving money on the production of the game, and if the game sells a lot, you've made more money. So,
yeah.
Do you see what I mean? You need to have a balance between short games and big games. What I would say to bigger developers, I'd say, okay, maybe have one big project for every 3 years.
Well, I wouldn't put a time frame on it because, yeah, they're always weird.
I'd say 3 years is kind of the bare minimum for the development cycle of a double or triple A game. But the rest of the time, you could have other smaller teams knocking out these really interesting, really, sometimes really fascinating short games.
Kind of the Obsidian model.
Basically, yeah.
On that, if you've got any comments to add to any of the topics that we've danced merrily through, please do comment below.
Also, let us know what your favourite short game was.
Oh yes, and a game which you believe would be better served by being short. Do comment with all that below. But until next time, thank you for watching or listening to Impossible Mission. Check out some of the other stuff we have on the channel. Subscribe, check out thegeekshow.co.uk, and thanks for watching.